There's one bill that quietly sabotages more financial futures than almost anything else. It's not your rent, it's not your student loans, it's not even your credit card statements. It's the one bill most people will defend like it's a law of nature, a car payment. And here's the craziest part. People will fight to keep it, while it's slowly draining the very thing that builds wealth, their income. If you can fix this one thing, it's like getting a raise you didn't have to negotiate for. Let's start with a simple question. When did a car payment become as normal as paying for electricity? Somewhere along the line, we stopped treating cars like simple transportation and started treating them like our identity. Your car became your personality. Your trim package became a signal of your status, and your monthly payment became the price you pay to be taken seriously. But the math doesn't care how good you look in the school pickup lane. Here's what's happening in real life. The average monthly payment on a new car recently sat around $748. $748! And for a used car, still around $532 a month. So even if you think you're being responsible by buying used, you can still end up paying over $500 a month just to exist in modern America with four wheels. And that's before the real cost even shows up. Because the car payment is only the cover charge. Most people think the monthly payment is the cost of the car. It's not. Not even close. When you add up the true cost, the insurance, the fuel, the repairs, the new tires, the regular maintenance, all the hidden fees, one major study pegged the average cost of owning a new vehicle at around $11,577 per year. Let that land. That's about $965 a month, nearly $1,000 a month to own something that is guaranteed to go down in value. And that right there is the trap. Because unlike a mortgage where you're borrowing to buy an asset that can and hopefully will appreciate over time, cars are the exact opposite. They're a controlled leak from your finances. You are not building wealth. You are managing a loss. And the loss starts fast. Cars can drop 15 to 20% in value in the very first year, and then they just keep dropping year after year. So if you finance that car with a small down payment, which is what most people do, you can very quickly end up in the absolute worst financial position possible. You owe more on the loan than the car is actually worth, while you're paying interest every month on an asset that is actively depreciating. It's like borrowing money to buy ice. You're paying a premium for something that is designed to melt away. This isn't about pretending everyone can magically buy a car in cash tomorrow. It's about pulling back the curtain on how this normal debt became the biggest wealth killer that no one is talking about. It's about understanding that the biggest financial opportunity you have might not be a new job or a side hustle. It might be rethinking the machine that's sitting in your driveway.
To understand why this got so bad, we have to rewind. A few years ago, the car market did something that, well, it messed with people's brains. Inventory got tight. Suddenly, there were no used cars. Prices for everything climbed. And in that chaos, people started doing something incredibly dangerous. They stopped asking, "How much is the car?" and started asking a completely different question. Can I survive the monthly payment? That one mental shift is the crack in the foundation. It's where all the damage happens. Because the moment you shop by payment, the system gains control of the outcome. You want that payment a little lower? No problem. They just stretch the loan from 5 years to 7. They roll in paperwork fees you don't notice. They add on warranties for peace of mind. They gently talk you into the higher trim level you deserve. They turn a simple purchase into a subscription. And here's the emotional twist that makes it so hard. Most people didn't fall for this because they're foolish. They did it because life is hard. You need a car to get to work. You need to work to live. And if your car dies, your whole life can break. So yes, sometimes financing is the bridge that gets you from a crisis to stability. But bridges are meant to be crossed, not lived on. And living on that bridge, it costs you more than money. It costs you time. This is what makes car debt so uniquely destructive. The years you're supposed to be building a foundation for your life, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, are the exact same years that car payments hit the hardest. Every $500, $700, $1,000 you send to a lender is money that doesn't get to work for you. It's money that doesn't get to compound. And compounding isn't just some cute finance word. It's the quiet mathematical force that creates real freedom. It's the difference between looking at your savings and thinking, I hope I can retire someday, and knowing, deep in your bones, I can stop working whenever I want. Car debt steals your margin for error. That margin is what lets you invest. Investing is what builds that freedom. So when you lock your financial margin into a machine that loses value every single day, you're financing a temporary lifestyle instead of funding a permanent future. And it becomes a cycle, a loop most people never see. New car, new payment. Trade it in, new payment. Trade that in, another new payment. Nobody ever stops to call it what it really is, a lifetime subscription to being broke. So, how do we keep paying for this subscription? We tell ourselves the biggest, most convenient lie of all: I need a reliable car. And that statement, on the surface, is often true. You do need reliability. But what we often mean when we say that is, I need a new car with the warranty and the nice screen and the heated seats. And look, I'm not judging, I get the appeal, but we have to face an uncomfortable truth. There's a massive difference between reliable and expensive. If you are serious about building a different kind of future, your goal is not to drive the nicest car you can possibly qualify for. Your goal is to drive the cheapest, most boring car you can tolerate that still safely gets you where you need to go. That doesn't mean you buy a dangerous clunker held together with duct tape. It means you stop letting your ego write the checks. You stop letting your neighbor's driveway set your budget. Because your financial future doesn't care what your coworkers drive. It only cares about the choices you make when nobody else is looking.
So, what do? Let's make this practical. There are two smart options for buying your next car. Option 1, the preferred option, pay cash for a reasonable used car. If you can do it, do it. Not because debt is some moral evil, but because cars are depreciating assets. They lose value the second you drive them. Cash keeps you free. It keeps your monthly budget clean and your investments growing. And if you're thinking cash in this economy, listen, you don't need a perfect car, you need a seasoned car. A car you drive while you stack more cash. A car that buys you time and lets your money do its actual job, which is growing for you. Then, later, when you have that margin, you upgrade with cash. Now, option 2. If you absolutely must finance, don't just freestyle it. You need guardrails. Use the 20-3-8 rule. This means a 20% down payment, paying the car off in 3 years or less, and making sure your total car payments are no more than 8% of your gross monthly income. But there's a critical add-on rule to this. Your monthly investing amount should always be higher than your monthly car payment. If your car payment is bigger than what you're investing, the car is winning, and your future is paying the price for it. Okay, real talk for a minute. Maybe you're listening to this right now with a car payment that just makes you feel sick. Maybe you signed the deal full of excitement and then reality showed up a few weeks later. There is no shame in that, but you do need a plan. Here are the 3 moves to make. First, face the full number, not the payment, the total. Your loan balance, the interest rate, the term, your insurance, and what the car is actually worth today. Get the full, honest picture. Second, you have to decide if this is a keep car or a ditch car. If that payment is killing your ability to invest, to save, or just to breathe, you have to consider selling it, even if it hurts your pride. Because the goal isn't to look successful, the goal is to be free. And third, if you decide to keep it, you attack it. Refinance if it makes sense, cut your expenses temporarily, throw every single extra dollar you can find at the principal, pay that loan off like you are buying your life back. Because, in a very real way, you are. Here's why nobody talks about this stuff. Car debt is socially protected. People will roast you for being cheap, then turn around and ask you how you're investing so much money. They'll call your paid-off car sad while they are quietly panicking about their own bills. But the people who actually build wealth, they treat cars like tools. They don't worship the tool, they use it. They drive them longer, keep payments small, and buy with cash when they can. They understand a simple rule. It's better to be rich than to look rich. So, if you take one thing from this, let it be this. Your car should take you to the place where you earn money. It should not be the place where your money goes to die. And if this hit a nerve, good. That means you're awake. Because the biggest wealth killer isn't the car itself. It's the moment you accepted that a car payment is normal. Not anymore.